Accessing peace. Existing without violence, with the ability to calmly resolve conflict. Downloading love. An overwhelming, deep, positive affection towards others. Activating liberty. Living your life as you see fit without infringing on the lives of others.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, the friendliest anarchist you will ever meet. And it's time for the Ask Me Anything. And I'm going to, instead of verbalizing the answer, I realize this sounds kind of weird, but just go with me. So instead of verbalizing the answer, I'm going to, there's going to be audio for the rest of the show, but it's actually going to be audio that had previously been recorded. And yes, I realize when you're listening to it, it's previously been recorded, even though I'm recording it live as I say this. But it'll all make sense. So the question comes in from Scott McDonald, the host of the ANCAP Barbershop. Scott himself is the ANCAP Barber. You can find out more about the ANCAP Barbershop and the other shows on the Pax Libertas Productions Network. I think it's safe to call that a network at paxlibertas.com. That's PAXlibertas.com. And so some of the other shows there on the Pax Libertas Network include The Lava Flow, hosted by none other than Mr. Roger Paxton. There's also the Resist the Empire podcast, a libertarian view of the Star Wars universe. And people that have listened to this show for a while know that I'm not a Trekkie. I'm not a fan of the Star Wars, but I enjoy this podcast. And they're not paying me to say this, but I do enjoy their podcast because the way they do the show. So, back now to the question from Scott McDonald, host of the ANCAP Barbershop, the ANCAP Barber himself. He says, I haven't done this in a while. Figured I'd ask a question. What's your favorite AMA question you've ever received? If you've already answered this and I've missed it, just let me know, and I'll come up with something better. No, Scott, I have not yet answered the question of what's my favorite question to answer. And instead of just telling you and then pointing you to the previous episodes, I'm actually going to, through the magic of audio editing, direct you there now. You guys come up with some of the strangest questions that I have ever been asked, and I love it. I love it because it gives me the chance to do some research and to learn, and then to spread what I've learned onto others. And the first question that I have, and this is going to be somewhat delicate because of the subject. The question, and not delicate in, like I have to sort of like, oh, don't drop it, it'll break. Like, I have to make sure that I answer it in such a way as to where it's still radio-friendly for iHeartRadio. And iHeartRadio is just one of the many outlets where you can listen to the show. You can find all of those over at fppradio.com. The first question was sent to me about a week ago, and the question is, how do bees have sex without stinging one another? And this is not anything I have ever thought of, ever in my life. And somebody somewhere, I forget exactly who it was, but somebody had sent me this question, and it just made me giggle for a moment. And then I started researching. And, well, apparently male bees do not actually sting. And they only mate with the queen bee that also does not sting. But how do they actually mate? Because I never really thought about this before. And I started thinking, well, maybe it's kind of like ducks or birds, to where, like the female puts some eggs somewhere and then the male goes over and fertilizes them. Well, no, like birds, or not birds, but bees. And the information that I have here, I believe, is about honeybees. And I'm guessing that, honeybees are somewhat the most popular kind of bee. So when people are thinking of bees, like that's what they're thinking of. Well, apparently, the way bees reproduce is that they fly and they have sort of like acrobatic aerial copulation. The information here comes from livescience.com, and they have in their writing here where they've actually got an article about how do bees reproduce. So they write, a typical honeybee colony comprises a large queen, 200 or so male drones whose sole purpose is to reproduce with the queen, and then there are thousands of sterile female worker bees. So the bees that fly around and buzz around in your garden and buzz around and like annoy you and sting you, those are the females. They are the worker bees. The males, all they do is have sex with the queen. However, and I'll get into this, like that's not, like it sounds from a man's point of view like, oh, like my sole purpose is reproduction. Like that sounds like a wonderful, glorious life. But I'll explain in just a bit why that is not a wonderful, glorious life. And if you are, thinking about like in the next life, I want to be, like if you believe in reincarnation and you're thinking like, I want to be a male drone bee because my sole purpose will be to reproduce. Well, I'll explain why that's not something that you really want to achieve. The article here from Live Science continues. It says, when it's time to mate, the queen will fly to an area where hordes of drones are congregated in the air, waiting for the queen, who is apparently a virgin, according to the article here. Scientists still don't know how the queen and the drones know where to meet. Some have said the phenomenon looks like a drone comet, as the drones chase the queen with continual consolidation and disassembly of the courting drones. When she appears, several of the drones, one at a time, mount her. The drone inserts his endophallus into the end of the queen's abdomen and then sends the material that causes her to get that, according to a researcher at Warsaw University. And after he has sent his material that causes baby bees to form, he then dies.
You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com. The Doublespeak Dictionary by Leslie Starr O'Hara satirizes the marked difference between the ideal of we the people and the reality of we the elite, while offering an insightful glimpse into the clockworks of the totalitarian mind. Ever irreverent but never irrelevant, the Doublespeak Dictionary serves as a subversive and humorous but timely reminder that the emperor has no clothes. The Doublespeak Dictionary is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry, online at fppradio.com.
After he has sent his material that causes baby bees to form, he then dies. The copulation is over, and the drone falls to the ground and dies. And sometimes he suffers for a couple of minutes or up to a couple of hours. So, yes, being a male drone, your sole purpose is to mate with the queen, but you get to do it one time and then you die. And every drone bee does wind up, unless for some reason he flies away and does not actually wind up mating with the queen. And that happens occasionally because sometimes someone will disturb the comet, if you will, and then the bees disperse. So the first question was, how do they mate without stinging each other? And that's easy. It's because the male bee and the queen bee do not sting. But then that got me thinking about, like, do the male bees know that they're going to die after they mate with the queen? And, well, apparently, nobody has really done, like, MRIs on the brains of a bee, but it does not appear to be something, like, bees aren't really conscious, aware beings. Like, maybe they can make decisions, but it is widely speculated that no, bees don't know that they're going to die afterwards. Or if they do, they don't care because, like, this is my purpose. Sort of like with the praying mantis. And then there are certain flowers that after they put out whatever sort of seed, they wind up dying. And, like, that's their purpose, is to just make more of the plant. And, like, you grow and then you bloom and then you, like, turn into something that spreads seed and then you die. So, no, male bees, either they don't know or they don't care. In either case, it doesn't really make any difference. The next question is, does McDonald's have real ice cream? And the question was further specified of, like, actual cream in their soft-serve ice cream product. And, well, according to the McDonald's website, where you can go in and they've got this section, I think it's called, like, What's Our Food? Well, according to McDonald's, quote, you'll find ingredients like milk, sugar, and cream in our reduced-fat vanilla ice cream. That's not really giving me a lot of hope that it actually is milk, sugar, and cream in the ice cream. It's just ingredients that are like milk, sugar, and cream. So, as they say, the world may never know. Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I'll get back to the Ask Me Anything in just a moment, including home remedies for cavities. But first, I want to make sure that I tell you about the home remedy for getting gold and silver in your pocket or in your safe. And that would be Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. So what are some good home remedies for a cavity? And are there any home remedies for a cavity? Well, apparently, according to the website top10homeremedies.com, yes, there are some home remedies for cavities. Now, these home remedies don't necessarily specify whether or not they will actually fill the cavity, but they will stop the toothache associated with, and they can also, according to some of these remedies that they have listed, they could also prevent the cavity from spreading. So let me go through some of these. Clove, apparently, is one of the most important ingredients for treating any kind of dental issue, including cavities. Due to its anti-inflammatory, analgesic, and antibacterial properties, clove can help alleviate pain and prevent the cavity from spreading. So how do you use clove to help with a toothache or to treat a cavity? Well, you dilute 2 to 3 drops of clove oil with 1/4 teaspoon of sesame seed oil. Put a few drops of this solution on a cotton ball and dab the solution on the affected tooth. In the picture here, and they have a picture where somebody's using a bowl, it appears that they're using a Q-tip to dip into the mixture and then presumably rubbing that on the tooth. They say that you should repeat this every night before you go to bed. Another option is to gently chew a whole clove to extract its oil. Then keep the clove under your tongue for several minutes. You should not use clove oil in excess or too frequently, as it is best used for temporary relief. Apparently, salt can also be used to treat cavities due to its antiseptic and antibacterial properties. It can reduce inflammation, ease pain, draw out any infection, and prevent growth of bacteria in the mouth. To use salt to treat a tooth, you would dissolve 1 teaspoon of salt in a glass of warm water, and it's important that you use warm water and not cold, because things don't really dissolve very well in cold water. That's why if you ever go to a restaurant, and if you're like me and you're from the South and you like sweet tea, then you know if you go to a restaurant out west or up north and you ask for sweet tea, they'll tell you, well, we've got sugar on the table. Well, no, that's not how you make sweet tea. You make sweet tea by putting the sugar in the hot tea, and then the sugar actually dissolves. If you put sugar in cold tea, and that's basically what they're telling you to do, is, well, just put sugar in this cold tea. Well, no, that's not going to work. Then I'm just going to wind up with a bunch of sugar sitting at the bottom of my tea, and then, like, the last sip is going to be nothing but sugar. And no, like, that's totally ruining my tea.
Are you sick of government lackeys who say you didn't build that? Are you tired of elitists who think you need a government permission slip for everything? Everything you do is an A to B conversation, and the government should see their way out of it. Create true free markets by adopting the BIPCOT No Government License. The BIPCOT No Gov license allows use or modification of any product, service, or software except by governments or government agents. Go to BIPCOT.org. That's Bravo, India, Papa, Charlie, Oscar, Tango.org.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com.
Hi, this is Roger Paxton from the Lava Flow Podcast, the Free Coast Freecast, and Pax Libertas Productions, and you're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry.
So you put this 1 teaspoon of salt in a glass of warm water. You swish that in your mouth for about 1 minute. Concentrate it on the affected tooth. So, swish it in the side of the mouth where the toothache is, or the cavity. And they say that you should do this 3 times a day until the symptoms subside. Alternatively, you can mix half a teaspoon of salt and a little mustard oil or lemon juice to make a paste. Massage the gums gently with the paste for a few minutes. Then gargle with warm water. Repeat that twice a day for a few days, and that will kill bacteria. Oil pulling, and this is something that I've heard about, but I've never actually done, because you have to keep this in your mouth for about 20 minutes. And that just seems like way too long to, not be able to talk or whatever. And since I kind of, talk for a living, being able to talk is kind of important. So on the oil pulling, they report here, oil pulling is an age-old practice that can reduce cavities as well as bleeding gums and bad breath. It helps clean the mouth of harmful bacteria that are responsible for different types of dental problems. So what you do for the oil pulling is you put a tablespoon of either sesame oil, sunflower oil, or coconut oil in your mouth. You gently swish it around for about 20 minutes. You then spit it out. You should avoid gargling or swallowing the oil. You then rinse your mouth out with warm water. Use salt water for added antimicrobial benefit. And then brush your teeth as usual. And you should do this daily, in the morning, and on an empty stomach. Garlic is also something that they list here as being able to help with a cavity. Being rich in antibacterial as well as antibiotic properties, garlic is often recommended for tooth decay and cavities. It can also provide respite from pain and promote healthier gums. I'm not going to read how you use garlic. I'm not going to tell you how to use any of these others. I'll just tell you what they are. And, of course, the link will be over in the show notes. You can read the information yourself. Licorice. And this is one that totally surprised me. According to a study published by the American Chemical Society's Journal of Natural Products, licorice root may help keep teeth healthy. There are 2 effective antibacterial compounds in dried licorice root, licoricidine and licoricoflavin. And, that's licoricoflavin A, not to be confused with any other letter of the alphabet, that can prevent the growth of cavity-causing bacteria. Plus, the herb can also help reduce plaque. You can also use turmeric, and there are several others. And again, the link will be in the show notes. You can read the entire top 10 yourself. The question was posted on Facebook, actually in a comment to a friend's post on Facebook. Apparently, there's a Twitter channel or a Twitter feed, whatever, called OMG Facts. And they post weird random facts. And one of the facts that they posted a few days ago was a Massachusetts court ruled that a sandwich must have 2 slices of bread, legally barring tacos, burritos, and quesadillas from being called a sandwich. So the question, Darryl, is this true? And if so, how did this ruling come to be? Did someone sue over the right to call something a sandwich? Well, yes, I am here to tell you, yes, this is true. And, well, it's not necessarily that someone sued over the right to call something a sandwich. More so, it was someone trying to use the courts for protectionism. What do I mean by protectionism? Well, there was a shopping center, presumably it's still there, the White City Shopping Center in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. There was a dispute between Panera Bread and the owners of the White City Shopping Center in Shrewsbury, where, as with most shopping centers, they will not rent to someone that directly competes with one of their other tenants. And that kind of makes sense to some extent. Well, Panera alleged that Qdoba Mexican Grill was a direct competitor, and, well, it wound up going to court. Now, I've got 2 articles here, one from Fox News and one from a real estate attorney. And let me jump into the article from the real estate attorney just briefly before getting into the article from Fox News, because they sort of cover this from different angles a little bit. In August of 2006, the shopping center owners signed a 2,100 square foot lease with Qdoba Mexican Grill, and Panera complained that the Mexican chain's burritos violated sandwich exclusivity clause. The landlord sought a declaratory judgment from the court that the new Qdoba lease would not violate the existing Panera lease. Panera, in August of 2006, filed a lawsuit against the owners of the White City Shopping Center in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, saying you can't put a Qdoba in here because that violates our sandwich exclusivity clause. The landlord sought declaratory judgment from the court that the new Qdoba lease would not violate the existing Panera lease, arguing, quote, burritos, tacos, and quesadillas are not sandwiches. The Panera franchisees filed a counterclaim seeking to enforce the lease exclusivity clause. Food experts for Qdoba were consistent in their testimony that a burrito is just a burrito.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
One of the experts, Chris Schlesinger, the owner of a restaurant in nearby Cambridge that sells sandwiches, described a sandwich as having, quote, European roots, and generally recognized as two pieces of leavened bread, while a burrito is specific to Mexico and typically contains hot ingredients rolled into a flat, unleavened tortilla. Judith A. Quick, who previously worked as a deputy director of the Standards and Labeling Division at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, said in her affidavit, the USDA views a sandwich as a separate and distinct food product from a burrito or a taco. And now you might be thinking to yourself, really, this had to go to court? But the way court works is anytime there's a lawsuit, there is supposed to be a hearing on the merits of the lawsuit. And, well, when you're hearing the merits of a suit, you want to be able to back up your side. And so they brought in food experts to testify on exactly what a sandwich is. Panera, in affidavits, argued for a more expansive definition of sandwich, which has not been expressly defined in the lease. So let me now jump over from the article written by the real estate attorneys to the article from Fox News. They include in here that Qdoba is owned by Jack in the Box, and Jack in the Box obviously sells sandwiches. There were court papers filed by Panera. They argued for a broad definition, again saying that a flour tortilla is or should be considered bread, and that a food product with bread as a filling is a sandwich. There was the chef who said, I know of no chef or culinary historian that would call a burrito a sandwich. Indeed, the notion would be absurd to any credible chef or culinary historian. Now, the judge, Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Locke, cited Webster's Dictionary as well as testimony from a chef and former high-ranking federal agriculture official in ruling that Qdoba's burritos and other offerings are not sandwiches. In his ruling, he wrote, a sandwich is not commonly understood to include burritos, tacos, and quesadillas, which are typically made with a single tortilla and stuffed with a choice filling of meat, rice, and beans. The article from the real estate attorneys, they do add here that in his 8-page decision, Locke ruled that burritos and tacos were not expressly provided for in the exclusivity clause of the lease, and said that the term sandwich was not broad enough to have been violated by the sale of a burrito. Panera had 30 days to file an appeal, and I could find no evidence that they did so. So that's how the burrito is not a sandwich lawsuit came about.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.